Folks, what you are about to hear may sound startling to you, and indeed it is kind of startling because embedded into the text of the story of the creation is very solid, irrefutable teachings concerning the person of Yeshua, which is the Hebrew name for Jesus. And it's hard for people to really grasp this, the enormity of the fact that God himself, of course, God wrote the Old Testament, dictating it letter by letter to Moses. And the question is out there, why would he embed into this text so much Christian doctrine? Okay, so let's look at some of the doctrine that God has embedded into the account of the creation story. Now, first of all, part of that doctrine is the name Jesus, and we see the name Jesus right here. Yeshua, that's Jesus. And as a pattern, it's kind of like a mirror imaged pattern. We see one spelling of the name Jesus going down, one spelling of the name Jesus ascending. Now, in all, if you'll spend the time to look for the name Jesus and the name Yeshu, which is a variant spelling of the name Jesus, you'll see this name encrypted into this box-aligned text, or the text of the Genesis story, Genesis 2, 7 through 9. You'll see this name encrypted a total of 10 times. Each of the findings that you'll have will be a mirrored imaged reflection, and that's important, and it's amazing just to see that. Okay, now in the text what we're going to do is we are going to see proof that Jesus is the appointed Messiah, that Jesus is the guilt offering, and Jesus is the one referred to as Hashem, which is a Jewish word, and basically it means God. And the question is, why would God, I need to correct that, it should be a capital G, why would God allow all this in his Torah if it were not true? If it were not true. And that's a question you're going to have to answer as we go through the material here. All right, so now let's start looking at some of the things. First of all, we do have the name Jesus twice. And I haven't put the other 10 findings of the name Jesus into the text only because it just starts getting everything pretty muddy and it's hard to see. Now what I'm doing here is I'm identifying the word Asham, which means guilt offering. And you see that this word Asham has a pattern to it. Go over 2 letters, 1 letter up. 2 over, 1 up. And we find this word Asham connected with the name Yeshua in both of the findings of the name Yeshua that I have indicated to you. And the name Asham, or the word Asham, guilt offering, is connected to the name Yeshua in exactly the same way. This is a repeating pattern. It's very clear to your eyes that it's there. And again, the word Asham means guilt offering. This is exactly what Christians have been saying that Jesus is, the guilt offering offered on our stead for the guilt of the sin of humankind. Now, there's another word, very important word, and that word is Messiah. Okay, now here is a pattern again. And it's a different kind of pattern. Okay, and that says Mashi, and down here we have the Yud. Okay, now put all this together, and it has to look like this. Mashiach. Now that spells the word Messiah. Now, as you can see, it's kind of hard if you just look at this and you say, oh, well, here's the word Messiah. Well, sure, you can put any letters together in a text like this and come up and spell words. But the fact is, God has put these words into the text in a particular way so that they repeat themselves, so that it becomes impossible to deny that this is a pattern. It's the pattern which proves. It's the pattern which proves that this material has been deliberately inserted into the text. In this case, it is the story of the creation. Here's the word again. Mashiach. Is this the same pattern that you see above? Yes, it is. It's exactly the same pattern. And it says Mashiach, and that means Messiah. Okay, so far this is pretty interesting. Now, what do we know about Messiah? We know that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is what? He is the anointed, the Meshach of God. There's the word that says anointed. Yeshua, anointed, Messiah. That's pretty clear to me. I hope it's very clear to you. Now, there's something else too, and we talked about this at the start. There is another word that is used by Jewish faithful everywhere, and that word is Hashem, and basically it means God. Okay, and here is the pattern for Hashem. Now you'll notice this pattern is different than the pattern that we just had for Asham, where Asham was 2 over, 1 up, 2 over, 1 up. Hashem is 1 over, 1 up, 1 over, 1 up, and true to form. Here is the identical pattern again, crossing the name Yeshua, exactly in the same manner, in the same way, Hashem, and it means God. Now, statisticians anywhere, any statistician will be able to tell you what these repeating patterns have done is to prove that this material has not been just by accident found in this text. This material has been deliberately placed into the text. There is no question about that. Here in the middle of the account of the creation story, we find the name Jesus and theologically correct teachings about the name Jesus. And Christians everywhere since the beginning have believed that Jesus is the Messiah and the Creator. So in the middle of the creation account, we see reference to the Creator being Jesus, and we see all of this Christological teaching just jumping off the page and in your face. At our website, Messiah Watch, is contained a book, and this book has not only these encryptions talked about in great detail, but hundreds of other encryptions are clearly brought out and discussed. I hope that you find this interesting, and I hope you find this helpful. It should settle the question once and for all about the teachings about who Jesus is, because these aren't my teachings, not the teachings of men, but they're in the text. And they're in the text by who? God. And so if you have any difficulty with what this is saying, you really do need to talk about this with God, not me. I didn't put the material in the text. God put the material in the text. And you have to ask the question, why would he put this in the text if it were not true? So you take care, and God bless you. Bye-bye.